All right, yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome into A Bettor Morning presented by Rival Fantasy. Rival Fantasy is your all-in-one fantasy sports platform. A little bit later on in the program today, we will get into some challenges at Rival Fantasy, and we will help you get those winning emails like I get every weekend after I basically give y'all a winner on the program, and then we go on about our business. Getting ready to kick into week number 4. Also want to talk a little college football today. Not recap, but break down some of the weekend's big matchups. Obviously, we got the BET Awards with Colorado and the University of Southern California. Big noon kickoff on Saturday. Also got some intriguing SEC matchups to get to that night. And then, got the game today. We'll look at some BetMGM insights, break down today's game, see if we can get you a way to make a couple dollars on that. And obviously, big news in the NBA yesterday. But I do want to start with Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers tonight. Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers football, Thursday night football. It goes down at Green Bay. Packers and Lions, both teams coming to it 2-1. Battle of NFC North teams on the come up. Obviously, you got the situation at Green Bay with Jordan Love taking over for Aaron Rodgers. So far, his career is off to a pretty good start. I would say that. Not as efficient as you would like, but still a pretty good start. And obviously, the Lions are a team people think can compete in the NFC this year. I wouldn't go that far, but I do think that they are an interesting team, a good offense, and actually been very good in their run defense. What I would like to see tonight, first and foremost, first of all, going into this game, the Detroit Lions are a 1.5-point road favorite. So when you look at a spread that short, like really under 3, I would go ahead and handicap it as a money line handicap. And when you look at these two teams on the money line, the past couple of years, basically in the LaFleur and Dan Campbell era as the head coaches of these two teams, it's really been the Dan Campbell show. The Lions 3-1 straight up on the money line against the Green Bay Packers in their last 4 meetings. So that gives you a little bit of a hint of which way I'm going tonight. Now, obviously, when you look at the betting splits, according to the DraftKings Sportsbook, getting ready to pull them up right quick. When you look at these betting splits, kind of give you an idea. Heavy betting tonight on the Detroit Lions, and obviously, that was going to be the case. They're a very popular team when it comes to the public. Total in this one sitting at 46, 45.5, somewhere in that range. So I think the under could get some action in this game right here. Basically, the way I would play this one, to be honest with you, what's critical for me to see, I want to see the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love out there with his full complement of weapons. I want to see him out there with Christian Watson. I want to see him out there with Aaron Jones. And I want to see what he can get done when Love has the full complement of weapons, which he has not had at his disposal so far this season. Despite the 2-1 start, which is good, and we all like that, you still want to see him with the full disposal of the weapons out there. But so far, the younger guys, Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave, players I like, Luke Musgrave, Jaden Reed. So I got this guy. Well, I tell you about Wicks. I picked him up this weekend, a couple dollars last night. Really, it was a weeknight affair, but I still will run down a couple of pickups I made. But for the most part, I want to see the Packers get their key players back into the rotation and see what Jordan Love looks like with them on the field. Now, as far as wagering this game tonight, I would go ahead and this is a teaser spot for me. I would tease the Green Bay Packers up to 7.5, and then I would take that number up to about 52.5 and hit the under on that one right there. That's the way I'd play it. You shop around, you probably get that for about -120, maybe even -130 if you got to play a little juice. But 2-leg teaser, Packers plus 7.5, and I want to go probably about under 52, 53 on that total. That's how I would play that one. Now, some interesting BetMGM insights on this game right here as far as some prop wagers that have been pretty heavily wagered on. Sam Laporta as the first touchdown scorer. You can get that at BetMGM at 15-1 odds. I don't really fool around with the first touchdown scorer market, but this one right here is one that I wouldn't mind throwing a couple dollars on for entertainment purposes because Laporte is a player I like. I got him on a couple fantasy teams. He's going to get targeted in that red zone, and at 15-1, that's a good number. Amon-Ra St. Brown to score anytime touchdown at plus 115. I want a little bit sweeter odds than that. I'm not really going to play that touchdown market at plus 115. Luke Musgrave over 37.5 receiving yards. I can get behind that one right there. Sam Laporta over 43.5 receiving yards. Laporta's been getting it done so far this season. I think Laporta's in a good spot tonight. And Romeo Doubs over 3.5 receptions. I probably would lay off of that one right there, depending on what this injury report looks like with Christian Watson and Aaron Jones. Now, the Lions have been stout against the run this year, but there's so many things you can do with Aaron Jones. If he's playing tonight, he's going right back into my lineups. I miss you, Aaron Jones. I need you to get out there and get some lineups and give your boys some help. So I think it should be a fun game tonight, some good action. Make sure you keep it tuned right here to Better Sports Network, programming all day long. We'll get you updated, latest inactive, latest injury news and stuff, line movements, whatever you talk about as we get ready for Thursday night football and get ready to kick off week number 4 of the NFL season. We got our first London game this weekend as the Jacksonville Jaguars essentially be in London for 2 weeks. I believe their opponents to start things off this week. I'd have to look that up right quick. But, oh, yeah, here it is. Jacksonville Jaguars and Atlanta Falcons out there in London. So we got our first of our international series games coming up this week. And it's a 9:30 a.m. Eastern time start. So you want to make sure that you have your fantasy lineups set good and early in the morning. All right. So let me talk about that. So excuse me 1 second. All right. So we'll talk about that. First, I want to talk about Damian Lillard. And obviously the big trade went down yesterday with the Portland Trail Blazers trading away their star Damian Lillard. Now, here's the deal with Lillard, right? Lillard is the guy that was the big trade guy this season, all right? He was the one, he talked in the offseason about what he wanted to do as far as, the Miami Heat being the team that he most likely wanted to go to. Now, you really get into a situation where this thing does not really take time to happen. This thing really doesn't take time to happen, right? So back in like the June, July era, what we saw a lot of with Lillard was talk of the Miami Heat, right? Now, he's good friends with Bam Adebayo. Obviously, Heat culture. This is a team that came from the East seed last year, almost took it to the championship. Now, him going to that team would have changed the dynamic 100% of what's going on with this trade and really with the NBA, because if Lillard is traded to Miami Heat, the balance of power in the Eastern Conference immediately shifts over to Miami. They're a team that do it without star players. Now you bring a guy like Lillard, a little bit up there in age, but still pretty much solidly in his prime because of the fact that Lillard is a guy that can hit the three. He's an offensive stalwart. He can really carry a team by himself. So that's why Miami was the preferred location. Obviously Florida, the tax situation. He got homies out there. It's a team that's really, really built to win a championship ASAP, unlike the Portland Trail Blazers. But when the news breaks yesterday and the trade does go down, we see that Damian Lillard is going to be a member of the Milwaukee Bucks. That came as a shock to everybody. It's really, the whole talk was, okay, Damian Lillard to the Miami Heat. Then we heard rumors this week that the Toronto Raptors were the favorites. Now, when that happened and they said that the Raptors was the favorite, I immediately thought to myself, what pieces do the Raptors have to move? So I thought this was really done to throw the scent off another team. And you know what? I think that is what happened. Because when you heard those rumors are put out there, the next day you saw that he's traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, who happen really to be the main rivals of the Miami Heat right now. Now, when you look at it that way, it is an interesting deal because now you team Damian Lillard up with Giannis. Giannis has already won a championship. Now you bring Lillard into that scenario right there with the Milwaukee Bucks. So now with that being said, the Milwaukee Bucks immediately shot to become the favorite. They went from about plus 575, plus 675. The last I saw it, they were at plus 390 on DraftKings to win the championship. So they have moved ahead of the Denver Nuggets as the favorite to win the NBA championship this season. And listen, barring injuries, the fact that they got to hold on to, most of their depth, they got to hold on with their 2 star players and Giannis and Chris Middleton. That's a good idea right there. So they got to hold on to their 2 star players. Did they take the best deal? Probably not. I'm sure Miami probably had a better offer, but it seems like the Trailblazers didn't want to acquiesce in that role right there. Back in July, that could have been a problem. But as you get closer to training camp and tip-off, you see that issue right there is not going to happen. So shout out to the Milwaukee Bucks for pulling off the big trade, getting it done. They get Giannis a little bit of help because listen, Giannis was also talking about, I don't know what it's going to be after this season. You know what I'm saying? Or Giannis was kind of giving some hints that he wanted to get some help in there. But now Damian Lillard comes and joins. The rest of the deal, the Suns get Yusuf Nurkic, a player that they can use, add a little bit of depth to that rotation. But really, they wanted to get rid of DeAndre Ayton. So there you go. DeAndre Ayton is now gone. And now DeAndre Ayton is a member of the Portland Trailblazers. So Portland really not looking to go super duper youth in the rebuild. So they got some pieces where they still can compete, but they're still the bottom of the Western Conference team, the Portland Trailblazers. But obviously the big news is the Milwaukee Bucks, now NBA title favorites, as they add Damian Lillard to the mix. The health of Chris Middleton will continue to be important, and Giannis as well. The Eastern Conference is getting tougher, but I do feel as if Milwaukee Bucks really right now are the class of the Eastern Conference. Already having issues up there in Boston with Kristaps Porzingis. He could be banged up to start the season. I'm telling you, that Porzingis deal is not going to go well for the Celtics. Porzingis is the guy that bangs around, gets the fan base aggravated, and then he is out. So plenty of NBA coming up. I believe training camp starts next week, so we'll be breaking that down for you right here on the Bettor Network and A Bettor Morning. Now coming up, last night didn't really do too much in Fab. Little Melvin Gordon in places, and don't feel good about that. It's really a lot of the leagues that playing with 20 roster spots. These waiver wires can be barren. So a little bit of the kid Wicks, but don't expect too much from him with Walker and these dudes coming back. Josh Palmer and Clyde Edwards-Helaire were some big names on my waiver wires last night. Rondell Moore as well as a player I picked up. Add a little bit of depth. That Arizona Cardinal team seems like they are a little bit better than we thought that they would be. So really not much in the Fab business last night. You got to try to be ahead in these things because you obviously seen already this year when a guy like a Jerome Ford or maybe even a DeAndre Swift or somebody like that comes up, the wallets open up and the whole league is going after them. And rightfully so, that's the way it should be. I think you should spend your Fab early. But, as far as on a week-to-week basis, especially at that running back position is going to be barren. That's why I always say if you have depth at running back, don't get frisky and start trading away your running back depth because that depth is here today and going tomorrow. So definitely you want to get some fantasy football advice and get ready for this weekend. You need to start a free 7-day trial of Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription. Get all the Week 4 DFS context and picks for free. Go to fantasyalarm.com/win. You get that 7-day free trial of the All-Pro subscription, and they'll get you right for Week 4. All right, so college football this weekend. Not the big crazy weekend that last weekend was, but we still identified a few good games on the schedule that I want to take a look at, break down, and give you a couple of my thoughts on. And I want to start off with, obviously, the game that's being dubbed the BET Awards, the big noon matchup between the USC Trojan and the the Colorado Buffaloes. I called them Oregon after that ass cutting last week. And the Colorado Buffaloes. Colorado home dog getting 21.5 points in this one right here. You do see a little bit of respected money, or it appears to be respected money coming in on the Buffs. But really, the people bet so much on Colorado, like they're being the most bet on team, NFL or college, these last 3-4 weeks. So you really don't know where this money is coming from, if it's respected or not. Now, I think USC wins the game. I think USC is a double-digit winner. Is it 21? Probably not. I think Colorado bounces back this week. But what I do like in this game is the total. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think you'll see Shedeur bounce back. Shedeur Sanders bounce back from last week. Still no Travis Hunter, even though he's trying his best to play, but they're not going to put him out there. I would have loved to see one-on-one matchups with Caleb Williams going down the field, see if Travis Hunter can get an interception off of him. But you do got two big quarterbacks in Caleb Williams and Shedeur Sanders, so that should be a fun game. Big noon kickoff, obviously, the pageantry that comes along with Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. But I think the over is the play in this one right here. Don't get yourself too wrapped up in the point spread. Go ahead and enjoy the big noon kickoff. ACC, Notre Dame versus Duke. Interesting one right here. Notre Dame, the independent. Duke is a team who now can look like Duke is a team now that looks like they could be in a position to maybe make a little bit of a run here in the ACC, because you can almost say with those 2 losses, Clemson is done. Now, Florida State and Duke will play later on this year. If Duke can knock off Florida State, we can really see Duke rise up in the rankings. But this game right here is going to tell the tale for Duke. Now, they're home dogs getting 5.5 points, right? So not a royal mint spot because they are at home. What I do like about this Duke team is the play of the quarterback, Riley Leonard. They don't seem to get too rattled in some of the games I've seen them in. Now, they're going up against a better team this weekend in Notre Dame. Notre Dame is coming off that nasty victory, and Marcus Freeman, the head coach, had that nasty blunder down the stretch. He was a man about it, apologized to the team. He talked to the media. He owned up to his mistake by having 10 men on the field in that critical play when Ohio State walked him off. That should have been a Notre Dame victory. Now they got to come back this weekend, go down to Duke and face a tough Duke team. I think Notre Dame beats Duke. Would I lay the 5.5 Notre Dame? Nah. It'd probably be a money line parlay piece for me. I probably would end up throwing Notre Dame in a parlay, that money line, because I think Duke is live in this one. I think they'll cover that 5.5. Probably a 3-point game with Notre Dame winning, but I think that Duke is going to give them all they can handle. A couple of SEC games I want to look at. You got LSU and Ole Miss. This should be a good one right here. Lane Kiffin continues to need a signature victory at Ole Miss. Is it going to come this week at home versus LSU? Probably not. At home, Ole Miss, 1-4 on the money line is home dogs in conference since Lane Kiffin has taken over. Brian Kelly in this spot right here, laying 2.5 on the road. Man, this is going to be a tough game, a tough spot. I would take the LSU Tigers in this one, though. I think they get it done. Jaden Daniels is one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC this year, so I think he's going to be able to get it done. Now, another SEC game at night this week is the matchup between South Carolina and Tennessee. This is going to be an interesting one right here, Neyland Stadium out there in Rocky Top, because what you see right here is Tennessee was in a college football playoff contention last year. They came to Columbia, to Williams-Brice Stadium, and on that specific night, it all came together for the Gamecocks, and they beat the brakes off of Tennessee, ending their national championship hopes, sending them back. So you know Tennessee fans, Tennessee players have had this game circled. They get them out there in Rocky Top at night. It's going to be a tough environment. Now, Tennessee is laying 12.5 in this one. To me, that's a little bit too much. I think the Gamecocks are going to come in here and fight this weekend. I think they're going to put up a good fight. Listen, Spencer Rattler is playing great. The problem with South Carolina is they have a bad offensive line, and bad offensive lines do not travel. And they definitely don't travel in conference at night in Rocky Top. So with that being said, Tennessee wins the game, but I think it's about a touchdown game. Give me around Tennessee around 27, South Carolina around 22, or maybe Tennessee around 30, South Carolina around 23, somewhere in that range right there. So I think that game ends right there. So I will take Tennessee. I take South Carolina getting that 12.5. I don't believe Tennessee is 12.5 points better than South Carolina. They'll keep the game close. But as far as winning the game, I do think Tennessee will get the victory. If South Carolina does get the win, then they immediately move up to be the second team in that SEC Eastern Conference. Now, they've already lost to the Georgia Bulldogs, and they probably wasn't going to ever beat them anyway, even though we did sprinkle the money line. But it is good to see that Shane Beamer's program is starting to gain some traction, but they're always going to play one of the tougher schedules because they always are going to have Georgia and Clemson on their schedule, and really nobody else in the country can say that. So there you go right there. Quick little rundown, quick little bypass of everything that we got going on. Make sure you keep it locked here because coming up after me, a little bit of Sportstopia, Fantasy Fire and Ice MLB edition with Drew Silver and Chris Crawford. And then a little bit later on today, you have Britt, the whole crew, everybody at the Fantasy Alarm crew. They'll be getting you ready for week 4. Don't forget to go to fantasyalarm.com and check out that free 7-day trial of their all-pro subscription. You get all the week 4 DFS content and picks for free. So that's fantasyalarm.com/win. And quickly, let me give a shout out to everybody over at Rival Fantasy. Thank you, obviously, all the time for the work that you have done as the naming sponsor of this show. You know what Rival Fantasy is by now. It's your all-in-one fantasy sports platform where you can play challenges, Fantasybook, Fantasy Bingo, plus season-long fantasy football. If your fantasy football season is already a bust, like mine, one of my leagues is, you can draft a second chance season-long team with Rival Fantasy and receive $250 in cash prizes. Go to joinrival.com/alarm. New users who sign up at Rival Fantasy get a $20 deposit match and a complimentary first play voucher. For the lovely and talented Heather Klein, it's your boy Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, wishing you